Welcome to the Self-Love Summit. I'm your host, Mia Saenz, and with me this segment is AnaMaria Rivera. Welcome, AnaMaria.
Thank you, Mia. It's an honor for me to be joining you and thousands of others in this Self-Love Summit. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming along for this ride. One thing that I love about AnaMaria's work is she's an author, she's a mastermind, she's also a self-love teacher and transformational teacher. And her tagline, which I love, is challenge your beliefs. And so I want her to get into that in a few minutes, but also she's a teacher or a professor for Temple University and teaches all over the world transformational programs. So we're really honored and fortunate to have AnaMaria with us. She's actually squeezed us in on some of her trips in between Colombia and Canada and Singapore and all that. So I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia, again. I'm very happy to be here, and I would squeeze you from any country that I would be in.
Good, thank you. So you've written these books. You tell your story. It's amazing how you owned all these companies and then one day you just switched your gears.
I am an industrial engineer by training and Harvard MBA. And after getting my MBA at Harvard, I went into consulting with one of the largest consulting companies in the world, McKinsey & Company. And after leaving that consulting company, I created my own consulting business from which I started helping people create companies, and I ended up being a part of 14 of those companies that I helped create. As sometimes as part of my payment, I would get equity as opposed to money, and that's how I ended up owning parts of 14 companies. And the work was very trying. It was intellectually challenging to learn about a new industry, a new business. Every time we started a project, it was fun, it was engaging, it was challenging. And it got me places, it got me to see the world in different ways. I got to consult with companies like Microsoft, Delta, DHL, Packard, and I also got to help a lot of just regular people like you and me creating businesses, and that was just amazing to be able to help people make their dreams come true. And a few things happened. The first big thing that happened was that due to the downturn and the way that I had my companies created, within a month I lost all of my 14 companies back in 2008. And I was faced with the feeling of absolute failure. And that's when I started writing. When I, from one month to another, from working 18-hour days, 7 days a week, I got myself to not doing anything. So I started working just out of, writing just out of following my heart. And I started a blog. Eventually, because people knew me, I ended up pretty soon creating another consulting company, and I continued that route for about 2 years more, but I kept writing on the side. Parallel to this journey, as a personal transformational journey, I had been interested in working myself. So throughout those years, more than 10, 12 years, I had been, just doing personal transformational work, but I kept that area of my life separate from my professional area. And suddenly my writing started bringing both of those areas together. And I always said, by the time, whenever I am successful enough so that I can have a private plane, I will just retire and write. I knew that what I wanted to do was write. But I never thought, it was like never enough, because that airplane was not, I didn't have my personal jet. And then there was one day where I said, you know what, I can't continue just betraying myself for any longer. I was excelling at what I did. I did know how to do it, and I knew it very well, but I wasn't passionate about it anymore. I wasn't passionate about business plans and financial plans and marketing plans anymore. That wasn't fulfilling and enlightening my days. And I just couldn't wait for that airplane anymore. I still don't have it. It never came yet. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to write. And that's when I switched gears. It happened in an instant. And I knew Mia. I was being so true to myself. And I knew it to a point that I look at your eyes right now and I feel so moved by how deep that moment was. And from then on, I just started writing, as you described. I continued my teaching because I had been teaching as a side thing, as a contribution. I had been teaching marketing strategy and everything, and I was teaching at that point leadership. But then I turned it around and I turned it into transformational leadership. And then everything that I do in my life, that I write, that I talk, even with my friends, my personal friends, the conference I give, the classes that I give, they're all about personal transformation and applying leadership to your personal life and basically creating happiness in the face of any circumstance. And here I am, and again, the plane is not here yet, but I am so happy, Mia. I am so fulfilled, and I feel just simply fulfilled from taking this transformational message out of to the world, and
that's beautiful.
That's where I am.
That's wonderful. It's really amazing when we are totally alive with our life, and it's not easy to get there. It does take work, but the result is so fantastic. Not only does it keep you moving forward more, but it just, you're on the right track when you're saying, I love what I'm doing. I just absolutely love it. And you can smile all the time because you just totally love it. It's beautiful. And so you have two books that are called, they're Heresies series. And can you share a little bit about your books with us? And then you also have them translated into Spanish as well.
Yes, I have a few books, meditation programs, and programs that I have published in different ways. There's one book, my first book, called Heresy, that it was published by Create Space, and it's being sold at Amazon. And there's the sequel to that book. It's going to be published by Hay House before the end of the year, and it's called I Am Her, and it's.
So in your work, I have a couple questions for you. And I wanted to ask you these because I believe that they'll really be helpful to people. How do you handle love? Universal in your life?
Okay, that's a huge question, right? I, having heard it conversations, as we all do, because we grow up in a society that, for the most part, teaches us that loving ourselves is some sort of narcissistic, egotistic kind of thing that you shouldn't do. So those conversations, they never disappear. They just keep in the background. And with your work for self-love, what you gain is awareness that those voices, they don't help you. So you say like, okay, thank you. Now you can leave now. So that's a constant exercise that I do, that I keep doing, and that I have to be in the constant awareness of the presence for loving myself, the awareness for loving myself, and to allow, inside of that loving myself, to allow that universal love to get to me, to allow the receiving part. There's another big conversation that I inherited from my parents, who, my dad died 17 years ago, and my mom's still alive. But they were both, and my mom still is, extremely generous with everything. The love they gave to me, that she still gives to me, and everything else. And inside that generosity conversation, what was given was some sort of notion and implication that giving is better than receiving. That for some reason, giving comes from a higher place, and receiving comes from a lower, smaller place. That maybe the one that gives entails generosity and gives because it's in a better position, and the one that receives just takes. And in my journey, I have been discovering for myself the generosity of receiving and allowing.
It's important.
And allowing myself to receive inside a conversation of generosity. So when I allow my partner, my mother, my baby, the people in my life, my friends, to be a contribution to me, to give me love, when I receive that love, that act of receiving is generosity itself. And I really have to work a lot. I still have to work a lot on allowing that receiving as a stand for gratitude and greatness. Right. So that exercise of love for me, the universal love, the receiving of that universal love, and through that, the receiving of love from everyone else in my life, to me is the biggest act of generosity that I put myself in the exercise of. And this is a constant muscle, Mia, that you and I and everyone else, we just keep developing and developing. Not because we go around the world sharing our experiences and our learnings with other people. It does not imply that our humanity is not very much existent and in place. It is very much existent and in place, and we have to just be aware of it and continue exercising that muscle and be present to all the transformation that has gotten us here, so we continue our work.
Mm-hmm. I love
and
that.
That's how I live that exercise of allowing love to flow into my life.
I'm grateful you brought that up about the receiving, because I've always been a giver as well, and so I didn't learn to receive until recently. And my life is totally, in the last couple of years, has totally changed, because we're not imbalanced or complete if we can't receive. And
exactly.
And it's funny, because I've even taught clients how to stand in front of the mirror and receive compliments, because they have to see themselves and, and live with what the beautiful things are that they're hearing, because it's really important. Everything that comes in is so vitally important for us to work it through our being, to be a more vibrant, beautiful person.
It's so funny. It's so funny because we go through life saying, oh, I would like to have this, I would like to have that, I want this and I want that. And the universe keeps giving it to us. And it's in our exercise of not receiving that we don't see the opportunity, that we just don't grab it, that we don't just allow the universe to give whatever it is that we are trying to manifest into our lives.
Right.
So one thing that I have also very recently discovered is that the exercise of self-love and giving is not complete until I really exercise receiving in life and allowing for all that to get in.
I'm once again grateful you brought that aspect up, because that's vitally important. Thank you. So how do you handle forgiveness?
Okay, forgiveness. The biggest act of forgiveness that I have exercised and continue exercising is in forgiving myself. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's like in every aspect that you discover about yourself that you don't like, or that you see that, oh, now I see that you transform. The next thing that you do when you stop making someone else wrong or something else wrong is you grab that whip and you try to whip yourself with it. Wow, what? Then if that person wasn't wrong, then that means I was wrong. And that's the point where you just really have to stop and give that whip up. Mm-hmm. And don't go into whipping yourself, because that just takes away all the transformation.
Right.
So in all my personal work, the biggest forgiving act that I have honestly and authentically have had to do is in forgiving myself, in not punishing myself for whatever it is that I did or did not do, right, and being complete with all of it. When you truly can be with all of it and get to the so what? Okay, this happened, so what? And inside of you doing whatever it is that you do, acknowledging the impact that it had, and, just getting present to that. don't go into the punishing yourself. Go into that space of forgiving. After you really forgive yourself, you don't even have to forgive anyone else.
Exactly. Because it's gone.
You're complete.
Mm-hmm.
You're complete.
Yeah.
And that again, it's an exercise that you do, and then you do again, and then you do again. Because our thing, it's, somehow we think that if we make ourselves wrong, then that's what we need to do. Okay, so I'm bad. That doesn't do you or the world or the universe any good. Just love yourself and forgive yourself. And that to me has been the biggest forgiveness exercise.
Thank you. I love that. Thanks. Okay, how do you keep your commitment to yourself on self-love? Okay,
that one's, wow, you're asking big questions today. By self-observation of me and any moment in my life, and I don't constantly do that. I, get lost in the moments, many moments. So the self-observation in the situation is like, if I were loving myself, would I allow this into my life? Mm-hmm. If I were loving myself, would I allow this to happen? If I were loving myself, would I be doing this? If I were loving myself, would I say yes to this or not? And in the self-observation space, you get invitations. You get invitations to go out with this person, or to participate in this program, or to study this, or to go out and do this other thing. And then in there, how do you get in touch with self-love, and is this aligned to me? You ask yourself, if I was loving myself, would I participate in this self-love summit with me? Of course, there's like, the yes comes out immediately. It comes from the heart. It's like your own destiny aligning with what gets present to you in your life. So, then life just becomes a dance with whatever comes and flows, because you're so present to that self-love. So self-awareness and self-observation is the tool. Like going out of here and looking at yourself and asking, if I were present to loving myself, would I allow this in my life? Yes, no, okay, then you choose not. And it's simple. And again, I'm not there all the time, and then, I bring myself back in.
Well, until we get really good at it, it takes a lot of practice.
It does.
It's practice. Everything in life takes practice.
Everything.
Yes.
And mastery, I love, I recently took a course in Canada, and the course I took with Masters of Masters, and one thing that I truly got humbled to my own personal transformational experience. And I got that we're at the foothills of a mountain with no top. We're always climbing. And there's always that exercise and that self-awareness. The road to mastery, it's a mountain with no top. Whoever claims is a master and a guru and has life figured out and everything.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like the name teacher, not guru. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, this is beautiful journey, and we're all here learning and practicing. It's like we're practicing life and discovering life and exploring life, and it's truly a mountain with no top. So, it's just an exercise, like you said.
And don't be afraid of all the work, because quickly it turns easy, like we were talking about earlier in this segment, that the more you face it and work on it, the more love you feel, the more excitement you feel about your life, the more you like yourself, the more you love yourself, the more happy you are, the more joyful you are, the easier life becomes. And if we can, as you're talking about the voices talking in the back, you're able to differentiate between the good and the negative. And when you always go with good and the love is when life is just so much more fluid and flowing like a river. It's beautiful. So I'm glad I asked you those questions. I think I'll be asking.
Great questions. And then those are questions, Mia, those are like fantastic questions to write down, all of us, and to keep there. So we, constantly ask ourselves those questions, because those questions that you asked, what they bring is awareness.
Yes.
And then we look at ourselves and we, in that exercise of awareness, that's when we're really out there playing, not observing life, not examining and judging and describing life, but really exploring, sweating, living, dancing. And it's not, it becomes effortless. Like you were describing. It just becomes a dance in which, there's these conversations, but I can see them, and I'm present to loving myself, and I'm not going to just punish myself. I'm going to allow and receive, and then all of this just becomes the dance of life. So my invitation is write down the question that Mia just asked and have them available for you where you can see them every once in a while. Ask yourself those 3 questions. They were magnificent.
And after I ask her the next one, I'll go through all 4 of them with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You as the audience. And here's another one for her. How do you support others in your tagline? Your tagline is challenge your beliefs.
My tagline is challenge your beliefs, and I want to explain a little bit where that comes from, because at first it might sound a little weird. Okay, challenge your beliefs. The problem with it sounding weird is that we have collapsed beliefs with values, and those are 2 separate things. Your values, you don't challenge. They are yours, and your values take you through life, and those are yours, and each person has their own set of values. Now, your beliefs are very true, because your beliefs are opinions. And if you go through life, and if you look back into your life when you were 15 and 25 and whatever, you see that there are some beliefs and opinions that you changed through life, because that's what beliefs are, opinions. They are not the truth. The problem with our beliefs is that we make them the truth at some point in our lives. And when we start making a belief or an opinion the truth, we stop considering. We stop being aware of that, and it becomes a blind spot for us. So we may have an area of our life that is not working, and we don't even examine some beliefs, some set of beliefs that might be causing our unhappiness. And if we lift that veil and we just consider and say, like, okay, I'm going to consider, what if this opinion were not to be true? What if it's just a belief? What if it's just an opinion? What if I can create another opinion? And boom, it opens up another door. There's some set of beliefs that, you challenge them and they remain as a valid opinion. Again, the problem is when we make them the truth. When we make them the truth, it leaves us blinded in life. It takes away resources from us. And so that's when
You mean like solidity, like a brick?
Yeah.
Like
exactly. Do not believe a word that I'm saying. Do not. And again, I'm saying it right now. Do not believe a word that I have been saying. Whatever I say, don't take it as the truth. Just go and experiment for yourself. Right. Try it on. See if it fits. See if it suits you. See if it's good for your life, and take whatever is good for you at that moment.
And that's why
that's how I support.
That's beautiful. That's why there's 21 experts. I'm glad you said that too, because not everything is going to suit one person. We get elements out of whatever. That's what makes us so unique, is that we get the different elements from everybody, and we take little bits and pieces here and there that make sense to us and become our values.
Exactly. I want to share with you a short story.
Yes.
I went through most of my life, and I did not know how to consider. I went with a friend of mine, and she asked me to go with her and go to the mall and just be with her while she was shopping for some jeans. She went in the store and she grabbed 6 pairs of jeans. She went into the dressing room and she started trying one by one, looking at herself in the mirror, looking how it fits, the pockets, everything, and all of them look nice. She kept asking me, how does this look? I'm like, good. And the next one, good. And then she left the store, she put the 6 jeans back, and she didn't buy any one. And I was like puzzled with that. I said like, okay, you waste 45 minutes of your life trying 6 pairs of jeans and you didn't buy anyone. And she came to me and she said, well, I just considered them. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I saw how they fit. None of them felt exactly what I wanted. And now I know there's some new models and everything. And next time that I go by, I'll have more perspective.
Right.
Up until that point in my life, I thought that whatever I considered, I had to buy. So I was very careful, and I didn't try a lot of things because I figured that if I was trying it, if I went to this thing, then that meant that I was like committing to something. And there were a lot of conversations that I didn't even try and consider because I thought that I was committing to then believing what they said. And that's exactly what I say to people when they go to my conferences. Just try this on. Just consider it.
Right.
If it fits, take it, but don't take it as the truth. Take it as a gene that fits very well, and then it will get a point in which you might just get another gene.
Right.
But it's not the truth. So that's my story on considering.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so here's one for you that, since you are also a self-love person, teacher, how do you teach self-love to your young daughter?
Oh,
and she's young. She's a baby.
Yeah, she's
well, she actually looks like a little girl now instead of a baby. But, yeah.
Yes, Mia, you are absolutely right. My baby is 2 years and 5 months, and she is my biggest master and teacher. She just when I am in her presence, like right now, she's not physically present with me right now, but by me being present to her, who she is in the world and who she is for me, I just get transformed by the minute. So I am very aware, Mia, that I am not here to teach anything to that child. I am not. She is the one that is here to teach me, and I am here to learn from her. And in the process of walking life with her and just being this space and the clearing for her to grow into, nurtured, empowered, to be fully self-expressed, to be fully aware of her greatness and her magic, she develops into whatever she will develop in. And she is the that is teaching me about loving myself and transforming myself. And I just have to just keep being this self-awareness exercise. Just be, I have this huge responsibility and this huge gift of being the clearing for her self-expression to emerge. So I'm clear that I don't want to teach her anything because I don't want to put the voices that that I inherited in kind of like in her space. And she is the one that has cleared a lot of those conversations and past inherited that I have. The best approximation that I can be and that I can aim to be is for me to be present to loving myself. And keep in that space of loving myself. And have that space of loving myself be part of that clearing in which she's growing up into. Yeah. And that's the best that I can think of giving her, because she is observing all the time. She's there. She's getting it. She speaks, but not at the profound level, for kind of like having if I sit, whenever she's 4 or 5, if I sit and have a conversation, it might mean something, but I'm sure it will be so much less meaningful than her just being in a space where her mom is present to loving herself and present to this conversation of, if I were to love myself, would I do this? Would I be in this situation? Would I be? That's just a space that I am providing her for her to swim in, dance in, and be fully self-expressed. Yes.
Yeah.
And I I don't have the answer, Mia. I don't live as if that is the truth.
You do have the answer. You just gave it, and it's beautiful because if I can just interrupt and say, that is so magnificent, because really what you're doing is you're honoring her.
Exactly.
I love that.
I am. Thank you, Mia.
And as a mother, I thought I was for many, many years, and I remember when it finally clicked over that I didn't want my kids, if they didn't want to be like every other child, that it was okay. They didn't have to do soccer. They didn't, if they wanted to give up their musical instruments, that was fine, because this was their life. What type of a soul, what type of a being were they? They were magnificent. And when other moms were saying, oh, how did they do on this test, and how did they do on this and the national test? And of course they did really well. Fortunately, my children were A students. But the point is we didn't want to be a part of what was every test score for every child. They wanted to be and live and express. And all of a sudden I saw my child, and I took a stand for, I love his soul. He's magnificent, and he's always going to be perfect, because he is already a perfect soul. And I could then see his beauty in a different way than society forced us to see things. So
exactly.
I love that you're giving her that space. And I took the challenge with my sons when they were older, teens, to say to them, what kind of a mom am I? What kind of a relationship do we have? And I thought we had a better relationship than we did. They're like, we love you. We don't want you to cry, but on the connection level, we need to work on that. So I did, and it's funny because when I do talk about this as a parent in parenting things, I do, because it's part of self-love as a parent to say, I'm not the tagline, I'm doing the best I can, not that. I'm doing what I feel I can do to love you, and I'm going to do more. And I'm willing and wanting to give. I think that when we come from that spot of opening it up into beauty and not putting limitations, like you said, just allowing her that space to dance in what she sees as the parent express, is the most beautiful, because when we can be complete within ourselves and living the life we want, they're able to live the life and have the strength that they want to live. And so I'm glad you answered it exactly the way you answered it. It was perfect. It was beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm very glad you asked that question, because I am starting to work on taking this work into parenting and teaching. My ultimate goal would be, or my created future would be, what if there's a future in which adults don't need to go through personal transformation? Because when they were children, they were raised and created by parents who allow that being to just emerge and didn't cut those wings, didn't put in those inherited conversations. And because children are born transformed. I mean, we as adults need to go through transformation, because were things stuck along the way. So what if we just don't stop those things? So I'm starting to do research as part of my doctoral work, and I will be, creating events for parents and teachers to go through any transformation that they need to go through to be that space and that clearing for the children. And that is something we and I can make available to people farther on.
Yes.
But I just wanted to put that as a possibility for parents out there. Consider that you didn't came here to teach anything to your child. Consider that your child is the master, is your teacher. And what if you leave from that space and be honored because that child chose you as a parent?
Yes.
And well, that's the future that I'm committed to creating.
That's beautiful. I love that future. Okay, so you also, because you're committed to creating a lot of stuff, your free gift is your 90-day Love Yourself Boot Camp. You want to talk about that a little bit? And then the link will be on with your website and all our credits at the end. Okay.
Because I love you very much and I love everyone else through you, I'm going to give you and this summit two. The first one is the 90-day program, I Love Myself Bootcamp. It's a program for you to be able to transform brain patterns of not loving myself into loving myself and allowing that receiving to be a part of my life. How it works is it's very simple. It's free. You just put your name and email, and after you on the link I'm going to share with you, we'll start receiving a daily email with exercises and reflections for 90 days. First.
Wonderful.
Gift is the page I have written about living their side, which is life problems and are absent. It's just a life where you're able to and look at from the other side and say, I have power to create happiness in the face of any circumstance. And it's living from the other side of an action for an extraordinary life. It's a short paper based on the conference that I did and published by Full University. And I'm available to you that are part of the program. So those are the two gifts.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. It's been beautiful having you on, and I truly am grateful that you're here and that we can be blessed by your love that you share with the world. Thank you, AnaMaria.
Thank you, Mia, and you, and thank you for this and for being the crewman that you are for a world that works and that loves themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in the next segment.